Hello, everybody. Welcome again to our channel on YouTube and to our community. So we at RPGECOM, delightful to bring in some speakers and experts from our industry to speak about interesting topics. And today I have Gal, the CEO and co-founder of Boosst, to speak about the M&A, Amazon M&A space. And I'm going to ask some questions and tough questions to begin with. So embrace yourself. Gal, can you speak a little bit about yourself and tell us a bit about your credentials?
Sure. And thank you so much, Guy, for inviting me for the conversation. I know it's not going to be easy, but I'm well prepared. So my name is Gal Barzilai. As you mentioned, I'm the co-founder and the COO of Boosst. My background, I actually was in the military for 4 years. So I was a deputy company commander for 4 years in the Israeli military. Manage a company of 200 soldiers and around 20 commanders. Really enjoyed that, but I wanted to do something else. So I studied computer science, entrepreneurship, and was engineer in several high-tech companies, such as IBM and WalkMe, it's an Israeli unicorn. And I specialize in user experience for e-commerce brands like L'Oreal, Adidas, HP. What I did there is actually creating solutions for the platform for people to understand the platform easier and to convert more customers to the pipeline. But I enjoyed that as well, but I wanted to do something else. So I opened the company Boosst a year and a half ago with my two co-founders. I met them in an accelerator in Israel. And I also personally connect to it because two of my parents are small, medium business owners. And when they tried to sell their business, they couldn't. So from this idea and the struggle of my parents to understand how tough it is for small, medium business owners to understand what is the process of acquiring and selling their business. And this is how we start Boosst. Happy to hear any question and talk about e-commerce specifically and M&A specifically in the market.
Yeah, so selling a business on its own, it's a difficult task. So once we got familiar with online businesses and in the M&A space there, a whole new world just bursted into our lives. And there's a lot of talks about that. And what's interesting is that you decided with your partners to establish the company in kind of in the peak of what we call the golden era of the aggregators. So for those who doesn't know, during the Corona, the COVID, like 100 companies called aggregators came up to the sphere, raising something around like $7 billion to acquire Amazon brands. And it was a bubble. Can we call it a bubble? It was kind of a bubble, right?
I would say a bubble, but also a new model to give them some respect. You know what I mean? Like a new model can be hype and also can be something good. So we still
it's
don't
both,
know.
I guess.
Exactly.
Yes, it was a new model that brought with it a lot of hype and tons of money flew in, and you decided, take me to that moment, for example, to understand what you try to solve there, I guess.
In the early days, I think you're right. It was exactly the momentum of the acquisition space. We start researching about what's happening in the market, why it's so booming, and what's exactly happened. So what happened is those companies, aggregators, they're actually backed by VC, venture capital, and all this money was for acquisition solely in Amazon space because the game was to acquire a lot of Amazon businesses and to facilitate them to, from an operation perspective, to expand the business. So when we start researching, we understand that there was a big gap between sellers and buyers, because sellers that was interesting maybe to sell the business weren't financial people or even M&A people to understand how the process really work. But from the other way, we saw a lot of buyers that came maybe less with the understanding of e-commerce and the Amazon space, but had a lot of financial understanding, backed by the VC, backed by investment bankers. Some of them were previous investment bankers, and started this whole financial game with a lot of power, with a big desire to acquire businesses. This is why the multiple were high, because the desire to show the investor that they can acquire fast, good brands was really, really high. but there isn't still a gap between the sellers and the buyers in terms of the knowledge and in terms of the tools, the quality of the tools in the space. If the seller wants to sell their business, okay, what they can do, communicate with the buyer. If you actually know M&A, you know it's a mistake to directly communicate with a buyer, because then you're communicating with one and then you're not leveraging all the buyers in the pipeline. Also, there's a negotiation aspect when it comes to acquisition. So are you as a business owner going to start the whole negotiation without knowledge, still managing your store and still need to increase the profit of your store in order to have the best sell? We saw a lot of gaps in this space, the knowledge, the tools, the gap between the sellers and the buyers. And this is where we start talking with brokers in the industry. And we start talking with brokers to see how they work and how they help like solving this gap and solving the issues in what's called the M&A of e-commerce market. And we saw still problems in this space as well. So there is a lot of great brokers and marketplaces in the industry. We can hear them. They give a lot of help in this industry, but they cannot serve a lot of people because they're working from not a tech perspective. They're working as an agency, and then the case serve 10, 20, 30 deals max in a year, and this is a great rate. And if it's successful exit, great. But still, the market is massive. We both know there are millions of e-commerce business owners that can sell and millions of people that can actually buy, and these numbers are just increasing. So in order to help the masses, there is a need of a bigger solutions that much more with tech capabilities to help both of the sides, by the way, not just the sellers that's struggling to understand financials, but the buyers as well. A quick example for that is also loans, SBA loans. If a buyer, for example, not backed by VC wants to acquire a store, how they can financially do that. So a lot of questions that we can help both sides of the story read a lot of more innovation to this space.
And I think we were also with the time, a lot of players came in. So in the beginning, it was only Amazon brand owners and aggregators, and suddenly there was brokers in between, and then like private equity firms and family offices and private buyers came in, and it started to be kind of a mess there. And then when you hit kind of the gong and you started to work, then 2023 came. And how do you see the year so far? Because the only thing that I hear is the crickets, like in the night, nothing happens. I read somewhere that starting from this year, was only 4 big acquisitions in the space, and like 80% of the funds were stopped, to the aggregator. So something happened. How do you see it from your perspective?
So exactly as you mentioned, you said it's a mess or something like that. I see it as an ecosystem. I think what was built in the last 2 years, or 3 even, like the early adopter, was the ecosystem of buying and selling e-commerce businesses. And from that, we see a lot of new buyers. So for example, in our company, we can see the big aggregator, but we can also see solo entrepreneurs or e-commerce business owners that become buyers. They're interesting to buy a business instead of launching new products. They buy a business, they buy a brand that fits well with their brand, and they become buyers. So I see actually the increasing of the buyers. What we're hearing, it's the hype. We're hearing, or let's call the fake news, or not fake, the news about those aggregators that couldn't show the right business model, or weren't like according to the milestone that they said they will work according to their investors. But it's still one kind of a business model. This model of aggregator, we can still see some of them in this space working really good, learning how to do those acquisitions and have better strategy for the company. So I think what we see is the disappointment of what's the promising, I think, for those kind of new business model. But don't forget, this is a new business model. Like, this is a new play. And for every new play, there are going to be a lot of failures and going to be a lot of different wrong estimations about what's going to happen in the market. Even the best economic and financial people sometimes get it wrong, and they cannot predict the future. So
also the practice that the aggregators, how they were onboarding brands, how they were operating, how they were executing. That was like the big revolution for them, because they had to try and learn it and execute it on the way, on the go. And then there I think was the main problem for them. It's one thing to buy a brand; it's a whole different thing to hold it and to grow it and maintain the same growth. So I think because of the hype, because of how this industry evolves so quickly, there was no time to stop and to reflect on how do you operate for a second. So in other words, if I think it's like one step back in order to take two further. You think it's a good explanation for what is going on?
I definitely agree. I think it's the market is normalized itself, you know, like I think it was a higher multiple, because if you see a business as a business, if you see e-commerce is different than startup, for example, in terms of the multiples, or for another like a brick and mortar business, those multiple are just difference in terms of the value or the scale option of a business, how much money they can actually perform to a new buyer. So it's normal that we're going to have different types of multiples and different types of businesses and different types of asking price for every business. So I think there's a big hype around what is e-commerce business? Why should I put a lot of millions in one business in order to, with just a brand and with an Amazon channel, for example? So there's a learning curve, like what is it an e-commerce brand / Amazon business to sell? And then I think the market started normalizing itself to the right multiples and to the right way to buy a business. As you mentioned, this is not just financial game, it's operation game as well. Now a smart buyer will actually think, can I operate that? Can I put marketing budget on that? Do I know how to continue developing product in order to increase, you know, the marketing funnel or the cash flow? So there's a lot of more knowledge about this space. And I think what's going to happen is, as you mentioned, like you're going to see it again slowly coming back, and the market will be much more smarter. People will be much more like with understanding how to acquire businesses, and with the right tools and with the right advisors and assistants. So I think it's great. Like every M&A will continue, you know, and I want to share with you about that as well. As like estimation of the next decade will be that 10 trillion businesses in the US will need to exchange hands because of the baby boomer
10
generation.
trillion?
Yeah, of worth of businesses. Why? Because of the baby boomer generation. Yeah, not in terms of the amount. There are 33 million US businesses, SMBs in the US, but the worth of those assets, those businesses, will be 10 trillion in the next 2 decades.
Wow.
And yeah, and it's a lot. And why is that? Because of the baby boomer generation. We're not seeing this in e-commerce a lot, because we see a lot of young entrepreneurs in e-commerce, right? We see a lot of like 25 years old successful exit, 35 years old successful exit. But actually the 60 years old and above are the one managing the economy with their small businesses. So they need to retire.
They're going to like kind of transfer the reins to their children and to the youngers. That's their reason mainly.
They're not gonna. So the problem is that a lot of them will not transfer the business to the kids. Like I, for example, I'm not gonna take my parents' business, and a lot like me that we're not gonna continue because the world changed. We have new jobs. A lot of people working in tech, working in marketing, and not working in those businesses that their parents started a few years ago. Yeah. A lot of years ago.
It's also a matter of culture.
True. And the subject, if you desire to work in a company that do X and your dad started a company to do Y, you're probably not going to continue his business. You know, life change in terms of how you transfer businesses.
So a lot of business owners, a lot of senior business owners going to disappoint soon of their children.
Definitely. And they will need to do something. It's or they're going to die, the business is going to die, or they're going to sell. And I think it's a huge advantage in the market. Like businesses to sell in the right price and the right time, you can actually have a great business to start developing and not do it from scratch. So M&A will stay. My conclusion,
and it's always, yeah, definitely it will stay. Once there is a business, there's like a space. So it can shrink and it can kind of a shift from quantity to quality, definitely. but it's still there. And also I think it's definitely it's an opportunity, because now I hear a lot of brand owners that missed the opportunity to sell their business in the hype, in the Corona kind of hype, and now they're kind of disappointed because it's much difficult right now on Amazon. Like everything with the inflation and the economic crisis all over the world, and it affects Amazon for sure. We can see that this first half of the year was really tough for the Amazon sellers, and a lot of them are kind of are letting their business go because they missed kind of this opportunity to sell. But we are here to speak about also an opportunity. But before jumping into it, like a last question about something you mentioned are the multiples. So what are kind of right now the multiples? Because when we were the hype, it's like we spoke about 4, 5, 6, 7, sometimes 10x for like crazy brands. How it's today?
I'm laughing because it's I think the common question that people ask. Everyone wants to know the multiple, and everyone think it's like it's gonna change. You know, the market gonna change, how it's gonna change. Everybody's so caught up in that. So we saw 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, the multiple was super high, 7, 8, 6, and something like that. And I think start normalizing, start decreasing to around 2 to 4 multiple for profit for EBITDA, for e-commerce business. And I think it's reasonable. If you ask my opinion now, when I'm in the market for a few years and see businesses and understand financially the aspect of buying a business, I think it's normal to ask for 2 to 4 multiple for e-commerce business. For now condition in the market, nobody will promise it's going to change, so it's going to be higher. Nobody going to promise it. Maybe it's going to, even more decrease. So we will never know. But I think the normal market's between 2 to 4. So I saw a lot of profitable business getting even to 2.5. Why? Because a lot of things that not just the financial, they're profitable, they have a lot of money, but they maybe not have the uniqueness in the product. They maybe not have trademarks, and this is why the multiple is low. But for companies that have the special sauce, they have great marketing channel, they have maybe a strong trademark, they can get a 4.5 multiple. And I think this is high for this market.
This is actually fair, because if you think about it, a lot of businesses, we hear about it, there are articles, stocks in the industry. We know that a lot of the brands that were acquired are not, killing it. Actually, they're decreasing in the new hands. And it just makes sense. It's not the most stable business out there. So it's also need to be reflected in the multiple that people are getting. So I think like having 3, 4, it's fair enough. Okay, let's move to another, like our second topic here is actually the opportunity. I also mentioned to you before, I think it's a great opportunity for those from both of the sides of the mattress, kind of, because even though it's low right now, the market, there's like a famous saying of Warren Buffett that he says that the most, like, the perfect timing to do business, it's when everything is in crisis, like crisis periods. Do you agree?
Big question. I agree. I think it's riskier. I think you need to be a risk taker in order to do that, because probably a lot of people will get hurt because of the market condition, personally, the companies and things like that. But if you have the money and if you have the desire, yes, I think it's a great opportunity. From a buyer perspective, I think now is the right time to buy a business. The multiple are low, now people are much more aware of the possibility to sell their business. I see talking with a lot of customers every week about the opportunity. So I think better brands in the market, brands that are ready to sell, multiple are low. So I think if from a buyer perspective, it's the right time. It's a condition of like they can actually have the money to buy. This is their desire, the right timing to buy. If I was a buyer with a cash flow right now, I will buy today. Like obviously. But if they need to financially do that, and they, as you mentioned, it's operation game. Do you gonna manage it, or you're gonna have somebody to manage it yourself, this company? So I think all these little questions, we also wrote an article about it. I think your first business to buy, something like that. You need to answer it to yourself and then decide. The timing is right. This is my
yeah, the buyers also
opinion.
like they figure it out that they need to keep the brand owner for a while after they acquire the business, because you cannot replace the genius who built it, kind of, at least for the beginning. And I think it's also an opportunity for the sellers, because you can take advantage in the negotiations of this kind of will of the buyers, and play for a like a long-term kind of payments that you can also keep acquiring and keep getting from the buyer if you keep good results with your brand. So it's definitely an opportunity. And also for the sellers, it's many of them are really struggling right now to kind of hold on their businesses. So it's also an opportunity for them. Sometimes even getting a much lower multiple than you were, expected or planned, you can start over, definitely. And I know you guys at Boosst are not looking only on 7-figure businesses, even smaller. And I think it's a good strategy, because in the end, like only like 90% of the sellers are in the small numbers in the end. Something like that. Maybe you can fine tune me on the numbers, but it's much easier to buy something that was already launched on Amazon and just boost it and flip it, kind of, maybe for somebody. We see it also on RPG ecom that people are kind of laid back. They understand the game right now, and they just want to have their numbers, positive numbers. That's it. And do you see the same on your platform? Like more and more smaller sellers are coming in?
Yeah, definitely. As I mentioned, like the market start education itself. People start understanding this is opportunity. As you mentioned, this is opportunity for the seller as well, not just the buyers, to sell their business, to sell their few years work. We have owners that have 10 years, with their same brand. We have 2 years, 3 years, like it's really diverse. But they can sell their business. And I want to say it before we start to talk about multiple. 3 multiple, it's totally fine. Like it's still a lot of money on your business. Like people, oh, I want 4, I want 5, I want 7. Like people start like rethink about that, because all this like expectation, I think, from the market, but it's a lot of money. And as the estimation, a statistic will say, if you will sell with a 3 multiple, you're probably going to have more money on the acquisition than to running a business for a lot of years in the end of the day, because you're taking the profit, but you have a lot of expenses. So if you actually do the calculation, you will see selling it with, I think, normal multiple, it's really, really good from a financial perspective. And a lot of owners, as you mentioned, want to move to the next adventure, maybe do something else in their life. I think it's the right way to do that, and there's the right opportunity for it. So yeah, definitely, it's a huge opportunity.
What is much more preferable? Should I like build my own brand from scratch, or should I buy something that runs? And I think, I always into saying the reality, and I'm also conservative regarding how much money you need to start your own business on Amazon. So I'm always saying, like, you need a minimum of 30-40K for your first year, in dollars, of course, in order to really build a brand. And sometimes with this money and a little bit of a loan, you can find some like something that already have some real estate on Amazon, some reviews. It's after launch. We know that the launch period is the most expensive period, where you invest the most of your money. And I do recommend for people who have the operations behind their purchase to really think about it. And now I'm interested to hear about Boosst a little bit. So there is like 2 sides of the business. There's opportunity for both of them. What exactly Boosst are doing, and what is the solution?
Okay, so we will see a bit about the seller side today, but in general, what we saying that the M&A space, it's lack of knowledge, it's not accessible, it's not really affordable for small medium businesses, and we bringing tech solutions in order to facilitate this whole structure, and every step of the process of M&A will have much more tech solutions. So the first step in understanding how much a business is worth and selling your business, it's a business valuation. As we talk about multiples and profit, but gathering all your financial, it can be a long process. And it's the first process you need to do when you start the acquisition. So from a seller perspective, Boosst helped them to gather all their financial information with connection to the platforms, gathering a financial picture of their business, and then start sharing that with potential buyers and do a private matchmaking to those customers. When we find the right buyer for the right seller, we do the matchmaking for the customer. And so the customer don't need to look or don't need to list the business, and wait for so long to find the match, but also find the right match. It's also part of it. So because we have a lot of data on the customer and the buyer, we can do the filtering and say, okay, this probably gonna be the right match between the seller and the buyer. And also gathering all the financials is also a crucial part in the process. Instead of going, for a financial advisor and start doing this process manually, getting all your profit and loss statement from different resources, we do that with our software. So if after that, if somebody wants to expand the knowledge and share more information, they can do that. But the software building the basic profit and loss statement for the customer, the first estimation of how much a business is worth according to the business financial metrics and our database of businesses in the same category and the market trends. And the business owner can see, okay, this is how much a business is worth. I want to sell right now, and then it can continue the process. Specifically, we're an app in Amazon and Shopify and all e-commerce platforms. So Amazon sellers, for example, if we're talking about that here today, they can connect the platform right away, like less than 3 minutes, they can connect the platform and do the onboarding steps. And then a few days after, they can see their financial overview.
So before you are demoing, I do understand from your words that your platform is also helping online businesses, not specifically on Amazon, right? So what other kind of, can you give some examples?
Yeah, so e-commerce is it's a lot. It's Shopify brands, maybe they're not even working on Amazon, WooCommerce, Wix. There's a lot of e-commerce platform, but we also will expand to traditional businesses that some of them have e-commerce channels, but they have other platform like accounting platforms. So a restaurant, a coffee store, a grocery store, a laundry store, all these small, medium businesses in the state that want to sell their business, we will connect to the financial account.
Oh, okay. So this is your twist at Boosst. Now you're connecting like the kind of the prediction of what is going to happen to these trillions of dollars of business owners. Okay,
Definitely.
nice.
And 25% of the small medium businesses are e-commerce anyway, or have e-commerce channel. So it's still a lot. E-commerce market, it's still a lot, but it's still the shift. And I think Amazon space, it's huge, and we see a lot of players in the Amazon space, but it's still missing a lot of solutions in e-commerce in general. There are customers that have Amazon, Shopify, other platforms, their own websites. So in order to gather all this data about their business, there is a need of a tech solution. So this is what we're building, and we're going to expand to more and more integration features to gather the financial information. And by the way, as I mentioned, you can buy a business as well like that. If you have a business, you connect to the platform, you want the help to, getting SBA loans or financing in order to buy a business, we still need your information anyway. It's going to help the process. It's going to help you in the process. So I think from a data perspective, and this is the uniqueness we're bringing to the platform, your data is crucial for us and for the platform. As many business owners that will sign up, will use our platform, will have the estimation, the metrics to show them in real life estimation what's happening in the market and what they can do. They want to sell a business, they want to buy a business, they want to fundraise. Everything starts with understanding your data. And in the future, I think it will also help them for managing their assets as well. If they have a couple of brands, they can also help with understanding the brands. But along the way, we're focusing on onboarding customers to understand how much a business is worth and selling their business.
Okay, nice. So let's see all this magic in action.
So we have a live demo here. I'll show you.
Mhm.
So this is a demo. Not a demo, like the account is it's an Amazon business, but we're not having a product there. I can show you
Yeah,
after
it's a
that.
dummy account.
Look, yeah, exactly. So you sign up to Boosst like that. You connect your Amazon business. You all know this probably integration to Amazon Seller Central. Then you activate your marketplace. So currently we have United States, North America. This is already was activate. You put your information here, and the company category. It's also super important in order to find the right match for your
Do you
for a
support other
buyer.
marketplaces as well?
What do we support?
Other marketplaces?
Not yet, but they can sign up and we'll do the work manually. Like they can bring us the information manually and we can continue the process with them easily. Inventory, you can see that we asked me on some question. Inventory, ad spend. Most of Amazon business owners are using PPC and less of all this platform, but we have few that are. They have another Shopify business and they're using it. In the next level of the platform, there will be integration. So to Google Ads and pay ads, so we can actually have a verified data. And then here it's an automation to their costs, the brands and their costs. So this is, as I mentioned, a dummy user. But if we can see here, for example, in the video, you can see here a real customer with their products. You can see
so just they're putting their cost of goods here. Okay.
Yeah, they put all the products and the product information and the SKU, and then they put how much a business is worth, the cost. And then we continue here, and it's taking us around 3 to 5 days in order to understand whole the financial perspective of the business. This thing is pretty quick, but then we do some verification about the business in our platform. So this is it. If you want to see that in live with the customer, you can see that after that they implement here, they start putting the information, then calculate, taking it a while. In some businesses, it's taking really fast, and then the customers can see revenue, profit, operation profit, margin, valuation, multiple.
Is it automatically on the last 12 months?
Yeah, the last 12 months here, we can see a business with a multiple of 2.86 and with a valuation of 900K. And it's taking the 12, as you mentioned, the 12 months back and calculated for. We also have a calculator to estimate how much projection we can do, but nothing is, you cannot also rely on calculators and things like that. You need to ask yourself if you want to sell. But this is a nice overview for the seller, and they can also go back to the COGS, and if the COGS is changing, they can update that. They can change it, because I know a lot of sellers saying that it's changing. Now we have better prices, or a few years ago it was different. So this is how you can change the COGS.
Where does the multiple comes from? Like, does it calculate it or give an estimation?
Yes, it's taking the seller financial information, also our database of customers that look like this business, and gathering all this information with our business valuation algorithm and saying this is the multiple that we think. Seller can say, yes, I agree, and continue the process. So they can say, they can talk to us and we can change it a bit according to multiple, according to sell and not according to profit. We could still talk, like it's not a done deal. But I think the best in it, it's like it's giving you the first, you become more knowledgeable about your business, and then you know what you want to do with that. You don't have to sell, right? You don't have to sell yet. You can still increasing a bit the profit and then sell in the next few months. But it's a great indication. And as we're going to have more and more businesses, it's going to be the most verified estimation in the market.
Is the onboarding cost anything for the users?
No, it's not cost. After the onboarding, they can continue. We have some solutions that now we're changing the pricing, and we'll share them in the next few weeks, such as getting a deeper evaluation, or have the profit and loss statement, selling your business process legally, financially, a lot of things that we are already offering. But the onboarding is free for every Amazon seller.
So I'm a brand owner. I just onboarded. I'm inside. I see that my estimation. So I understand correctly that you guys are offering like kind of a ecosystem for me to sell my business if I need professional help on the Amazon side and on the legal side, right? And and then on the other side, if I'm a seller, am I a buyer? So I have like a different onboarding when I just signing in.
You have a different onboarding if you're a buyer. We're asking you different questions. It's basically it's a lot of question about your intention, how much budget you have, which category you find interesting, more information that you can tell us as a buyer. If you're a first-time buyer or you're backed by a company, so you can find it in the website. It's a buyer page dedicated to buyers specifically, and every buyer can sign up. And then after that, we're communicating with the buyer and having much more different onboarding with the buyers. But and sending them every week and sending them information about the businesses to sell. So it's a bit different, but every buyer can sign up and check on what do a call with us.
Definitely, and I also encourage you guys, if you're listening to it, it's one thing to have your seller board, seller legend, Helium 10 soft to get to know your margins and your last 12 months of operations. It's a totally different thing to actually get a real estimation based on data from a startup that this is what they do best. So it's just giving you a perspective of where you are standing right now. Should I concentrate? Should I boost? Should I sell right now? Maybe you are getting the wrong estimations regarding your own business. So this is kind of an initial free advice that you guys can get from Boosst, and definitely I'm encouraging it. Great. So any predictions for the end on your end? Like how this year gonna close up, and do you have any predictions for 2024 in this sphere?
Really tough questions. I'm not a psychic, but from my perspective, I think we'll still see the M&A market blooming. We'll see last probably closing deal in our space in Amazon, but I think we'll still see deals, and maybe not a lot of people gonna hear about them. Maybe it's not gonna be in the PR or the news about this company acquired those companies because it was a hype. But I still think that people are gonna acquire businesses, and I see more individual and private buyers coming to the industry. I projecting that we'll see more buyers, and that we'll see it's going to be even tougher for the great brands, like not for the great brands, for the buyers. For great brands, we're going to see like a higher competition. We'll see more LOIs and more like a bidding war for the great brands. So for a seller perspective, it's the right time. I think more buyers in the market, they're going to be more serious. I think they're going to have a better due diligence. They're going to go to your financials. They're going to ask you more questions about how you operate the business. And I think it's good from the buyer perspective. It's going to be tougher, but the right businesses can sell, and not just the businesses that will find the right match can sell their business. So projections, more awareness in the industry, more knowledge, more buyer, people will sell more because they're more aware of selling their businesses. And in terms of the numbers, we can't tell, but we'll do a summary at the end of the year, and we'll sell the whole ecosystem.
So my final note is for you guys, the Amazon brand owners. If you are thinking of selling your business, or you are not sure if at least your brand worth anything, just go and check it out. We are in a kind of a interesting period right now in the sphere, in the space where buyers are getting much more smarter. Yes, but if you have something valuable and that you have invested in a real good brand, and even though it's going through some tough times right now, you still have the real estate. That's the most important. Buyers are smarter, so also on this side, they will appreciate your effort. They appreciate your brand if you really build something special with some diversification for any category and great differentiation, and you have the good reviews and everything. So the space is not dead. It's kind of recalculating and reshifting, and definitely I'm also very positive about the future. So Gal, thank you very much for giving your 2 cents. And guys, we will leave below here the links for Boosst for anyone who wants to onboard and check their multiples, and hopefully you will be surprised for the good. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.